These are the Sunday recommendations for Patreon subscribers for December 9th, 2018. This week's blog post is on the progress of the Kosciuszko Bridge. This is the new bridge that connects Brooklyn and Queens on the BQE. The video, which I'm going to make public, shows you progress from the very beginning in the old bridge. Second recommendation. Serendipity is a wonderful thing. I was going to show you George Inness's Peace and Plenty, which is up on the screen, for this Sunday's recommendations, but the image of it on the Metropolitan Museum site is dark and mushy, as you see. But their website images are off on color or tone so frequently that I suspect it's deliberate. At any rate, I decided to go to the Metropolitan Museum and look at the Inness. And it was, in fact, dark and mushy. But just to its left was this bright painting by Cropsey. Both these works were completed in 1865, so both were created during the final years of the Civil War. Yet this one shows a world that seems much more cheerful and benevolent than Inness's. An added plus for me is that this Wyoming Valley is not in the far west, but about an hour away from where I grew up in Pennsylvania, so it evokes very positive associations with my childhood. Third recommendation. The Green Book, currently out in theaters. This is not a sugar-coated ebony meets ivory story, but it has the solid, satisfying, and yes, uplifting feel of a real story with a benevolent outcome. Two men who approached each other with strong racial prejudices and eventually chose to treat each other as individuals. And the music is fabulous. Hat tip to Bobby S. Fourth recommendation for Patreon subscribers only. This is an excerpt from Duke Ellington's autobiography, Music is My Mistress. It was published in 1973. Quote, New York is a dream of a song, a feeling of aliveness, a rush and flow of vitality that pulses like the giant heartbeat of all humanity. The whole world revolves around New York, especially my world. Very little happens anywhere unless someone in New York presses a button. New York is its people, and its people are the city. Among its crowds, along its streets, and in its high-piled buildings can be found every mood, sight, and sound, every custom, thought, and tradition, every color, flavor, religion, and culture of the entire earth. It is as if each of the world's greatest chefs had sent a pinch of his nation's most distinctive flavoring to contribute to the richness of taste of this great savory pot-au-feu called New York. The miracle of the city is that this concoction, with its multitude of dissimilar ingredients, can sometimes come to a boil and sometimes simmer away contentedly on the back of the stove. Since it is at the mercy of so many cooks, it is often stirred up, and too often of late over-seasoned by some heavy-handed pepper-wielders. Yet this gorgeously aromatic pot never burns or sticks to the bottom. Instead, New York presents itself as a proper feast to each human being of healthy appetite who hungers for soul food. Whether his needs are nutritional or merely gourmet, the hungry one is fed, for in New York it is all there on the menu. That's something to satisfy every taste, exotic, traditional, or adventuresome. Perhaps it is at this very moment of finding his soul food listed on the menu that the next New Yorker is born. For the real New Yorker is not always born in New York, you know. He becomes one at the very instant when he discovers that his own ingredients are completely compatible with the city's soups and salads. I'm that kind of New Yorker, for I was born in Washington, D.C. And if I'm asked to describe New York, I must think in musical terms because New York is people, and that is what music is all about. This incredible city embraces all humanity within its structure, whether resident or visitor, and joins each new heartbeat with her own throbbing pulse. For personified, New York is a woman, and as such she is a little of everything. Certainly she is a sophisticate. Sometimes she is a lady of the evening. To her cosmopolitan visitors, she is always a gracious hostess, deferential to their differing points of view. And like a true Earth Mother, she rests but never sleeps. She is the last to retire at night and the first to rise with each new day, for she suffers from an exhaustingly active energy called anticipation. Thank you for listening. If you're not already on the Sunday recommendations list, the URL and the email are on the screen. You can support me. I really appreciate it on Patreon at $5 a month, or follow me for free there. And check out DianeDuranteWriter.com for posts on sculpture, painting, music, Central Park, and my many other obsessions. Thank you for listening.